Are you biased? Do you know that for sure? Let's talk about unconscious bias. Yeah, I'm your leadership coach, Jeff Lascelle, and today we're going to talk about unconscious biases and try to show how to bring that stuff up into the awareness level so that you can take action on your unconscious bias. Before we talk about that, if you would, please hit the like and subscribe button. That will really help out and you won't miss any future videos. So unconscious bias. Let's talk a little bit about what that is first and why it's important. Because frankly, all leaders, really all individuals, but certainly all leaders, need to be self-aware. And this requires a really sometimes, uncomfortable journey into the depths of our unconsciousness where there's generally a lot of messiness going on. What is unconscious bias? Well, they're biases that we're not actively aware of, thus unconscious. And what does it mean to be biased? Well, really, it's just that we have a preference for one group of individuals versus another group of individuals. And we might say, well, wait a minute, this sounds terrible. Actually, it's very natural. It's how we as human beings evolve. So if you're a member of the human race, and I'll assume since you're listening to this, you probably are, you definitely have unconscious biases. We all have them, like it or not. Again, it's a condition of evolving as a human being. Back in the Stone Ages, to survive, we needed to be wary of groups that weren't of our tribe. One way that evolution helped us out in this regard was to make sure that if a group looked different than us, sounded different than us, behaved different than us, we would be a little bit wary of them. So this trait comes down through the thousands of years and millennia, and we still have them today. So what we need to do to make sure that these unconscious biases don't influence our preferences and conscious decisions, we need to make sure that we're aware of them. And yeah, a lot of us will say, but I grew up well, I was trained well, I was highly educated, my parents did a good job. Great. But you know what? You probably still got some unconscious biases to uncover. I did. And it shocked me what I uncovered. So let's talk about how you go about this. First, all you really need to do is Google Harvard unconscious bias tests. And there's a whole bunch of research out there and self-tests that you can take to reveal, do you have an unconscious preference for one group versus another group? Again, the results might surprise you. And these tests are all based on extensive research by really top-notch research organizations. So they're pretty solid. So you take a test and you get the result and the report, and you look at it and you say, ooh, that doesn't look like me. But then you sit and digest it a bit and maybe go through a difficult self-awareness evaluatory process over an extended period of time. It took me months to come to grips with some of my own tests. And you come to realize that, yeah, these tests, they're telling me something here. So really what you need to do then is say, okay, if I have this unconscious preference, let's call it, then I need to make sure that it doesn't influence my decisions unconsciously. So for example, if I'm interviewing a bunch of people for a job and they all look different, they all behave different, they're different genders, they're different races, they're just plain different from one another. I might like the person that is most like me, and that might be a problem. It might also be okay, but we certainly need to manage that. And so the way we manage it is we become aware and we make sure our process for the interviewing and selecting, evaluating of the candidates is not biased towards candidates that look, sound, behave like me. This is why it's really important as a leader to become self-aware. So it's not just in the interviewing process, it's everything you do. In today's workforce, the way people move around, you are very likely to have some diversity on your team. Now, diversity doesn't necessarily mean racial diversity or gender diversity. Sure, those are two aspects of diversity, but diversity can also be different life experiences, different ways of approaching problems, anything, different communication preferences. So what you need to do is make sure that you're aware of your biases so that you aren't behaving in a biased manner towards one group or another. Again, I highly recommend you go out onto the Harvard site and you look at these tests, you take a few, and don't take them all at once. Take one or two and then digest the information and really try to understand what that thing is telling you. Good luck with that. And again, if you would be so kind, before you leave, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we'll keep the videos coming.